Hi friends, this is Vishal Nadapura, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Dr. Supos Technical Campus, Junagadh. Welcomes you in a lecture series of fluid mechanics. In last lecture, which was the dynamics, we had seen Newton's law applied to the fluid mechanics system. Then we have derived the Euler's equation of motion by considering the two forces only out of five forces, which were pressure force and gravitational force only. Then we had derived Bernoulli's equation from the Euler's equation of motion. Then we had seen the application of Bernoulli's equation for real fluid as well as ideal fluid. After that, impulse momentum equation, then energy correction factor, kinetic energy correction factor alpha, and momentum energy correction factor beta. And lastly, we had seen the moment of momentum equation. Today, we are going to start with the dimensional analysis, and we will discuss dimensional analysis, advantages of dimensional analysis, what is the dimension, and the dimension of different physical quantities, dimensional homogeneity for a particular equation. Then one of the important method for dimensional analysis, Rayleigh method, and we will try to understand Rayleigh method with example. So let's start. First of all, what is dimensional analysis? Dimensional analysis is a method. It is a mathematical technique which makes use of study of the dimension for the solving of several engineering problems. So it is a mathematical technique which deals with the generally with the dimension. So dimensional analysis has become an important tool for the analyzing the fluid flow problem. It's specially useful in presenting an experimental result. When in a fluid system, there are number of parameters acting on each other, and in most of the cases, one or two parameter is dependent on other parameter. Then to calculate the relative effect or the relative relation between that dependent and independent parameter, dimensional analysis is mostly used, and it is in most of the cases it is done before the experiment performed. So what is the application of to test the dimensional homogeneity of any equation of the fluid motion? What is dimensional density? We will go through it just a couple of minutes to derive a rational formulator for a flow phenomenon. So in any flow phenomenon, there are a number of parameter and the relative formula we can derive with the help of dimensional analysis. To derive an expression expressed in terms of non-dimensional parameter. So non-dimensional parameter has a very vast important in particular in context with fluid mechanics, like Reynolds number, Froude number, Euler's number. So you can derive the relativity of or dependency with respect to these non-dimensional parameters with the help of dimensional analysis. To plan, model, test, and present experimental result in a systematic manner, thus making it possible to analyze the complex fluid flow phenomenon. So in this way, model testing is generally done before the prototype constructed to just check the reliability in with different flow force condition. So to establish the relation between model and prototype, this dimensional analysis will help us a lot. Then advantages of dimensional analysis. It expresses the functional relationship between the variables in dimensional system. In hydraulic model studies, it reduces the number of variables involved in physical phenomena, generally by 3. By the proper selection of variable, the dimensional parameter can be used to make a certain logical deduction about the problem. Design curves by the use of dimensional analysis can be developed from the experimental data or direct solution. It enables the getting of the theoretical equation or in a simplified dimensional form. Dimensional analysis provides a partial solution to the problem that are too complex to deal with the mathematically. So in that case, we can say the problem or the fluid problem which are very complex to calculate or mathematical expression. So we can derive it partially relatively easy manner with the help of dimensional analysis. The conversion of unit of quantities from one system to another system is facilitated by the dimensional analysis. After completing the advantages of dimensional analysis, let's go through the what is the dimension. Dimension, the physical or various physical quantities used in the fluid phenomena can be expressed in terms of fundamental quantities or primary quantities. So all the parameter, all the quantities have some dimension. That dimension may be fundamental dimension or it may be a derived dimension. If we talk about fundamental dimension, there are the three or four fundamental dimension in the case. M stands for mass, kg, L stands for length, meter, and T stands for time in second, and theta is for temperature. So these are the mass, length, time, and temperature are the fundamental dimension. So any derived quantity or any derived unit you can represent with this fundamental dimension. Temperature is especially useful in a compressible flow. So in this regards, we can neglect in many specific cases. Don't be confused about the T temperature, T and theta. T is for time and theta is for temperature. The quantities which are expressed in terms of the fundamental dimension or primary quantities are called derived or secondary quantities. So here, if we take the unit of mass, it is just a kg. Unit of mass is a kg. But if you think about the velocity or area or acceleration, velocity have a unit of meter per second, area have a meter square, acceleration have a meter per second square. So all these three quantity uses more than one fundamental dimension. Say velocity meter per second, so it uses meter, and length, area, it uses two times the length. Acceleration, it is the mass per unit, uh, sorry, velocity per unit time. So we can say it is a distance, length per time square. So it is a ml divided, it uses the L one times and time two times T. So by this way, the quantities or the unit which uses the fundamental dimensions more than one time is called as a derived quantity or secondary quantities. The expression for the derived quantities in terms of the primary quantities is called as a dimension of physical quantities. So when you derive any any quantities into a fundamental dimension, then it is called as a dimension of the physical quantity. Let's as discuss here, it is the velocity, and unit of the velocity is meter per second. So if we derive this velocity unit into the MLT form, then it have a length unit. So L is 1, no need to write 1, and 1 unit of T, but T unit is denominator, so we have to take -1. So LT minus 1, this is the fundamental dimension of this velocity, LT minus 1. So when you derive any of the quantity into the fundamental dimension or any fundamental unit, it is called as a fundamental dimension. The quantity may either be expressed dimensionally in MLT form or FLT form. So there are two method are used to express the dimensionally any quantity, which is MLT form, say mass, length, and time. Another is the force, length, and time. Mass is replaced by the force in the second method, because some engineers prefer to use force instead of mass as the fundamental quantities, because the force is easy to measure. Yes, in most of the cases, particularly in fluid mechanics or the fluidic system, the mass is a little bit difficult to measure in comparison with this force. So instead of MLT form, some engineers like to use or prefer FLT method or FLT method for fundamental dimension analysis. So this is the dimension. Now let's see the dimension or fundamental dimension of different quantities. It may be a fundamental or it may be a derived quantities. Here let's start with the area. Area is again, as we have discussed, it is a meter square. Before going on the fundamental dimension, we must recall that what is the required quantity, what is the required data for the derivation of this any quantity to convert into the MLT form. First, you must have a unit of that particular quantity. From that unit, you can convert this into the MLT form or in fundamental dimension. So converting all the time you have to keep in mind. Okay, one thing I want to clear, it is we will use only a MLT form. We will not consider theta at this moment for the sake of simplicity or for the need of this subject, and we will not use FLT form, which is a force time, force length and time method. So area, we all know that the area have a unit of meter square. So meter square, it is the 2 times meter. Meter is again a length unit or the unit of length. So here we have to keep in mind all three fundamental, which is first M. M stands for mass, kg, then L stands for length, and T stands for time. So here area is a meter square. Meter is the unit of length, so it uses the length 2 times. So from this, M is 0, L is 0, and the 0 parameter it does not require to present here. So area is meter square, so it is represented as a L2. So it uses the length parameter 2 times. Then volume is meter cube, so it uses the length parameter 3 times. So same way, kinematic quantity have some relative motion. So it is a velocity. Velocity is meter per second. So meter per second, meter is the unit of length. Length one time. S is the unit of time. Time one time. So L t minus one. But here S is in denominator. So we have to consider it as a negative power or in denominator. And the angular velocity is omega. Omega is radian per second square. Radian is not considered as a fundamental dimension, so it is a t minus 1 only. Then SLS is meter per second square. So meter per second square meter uses the length one time, and time is the 2 times. So it is L t minus 2. Angular acceleration again alpha. Alpha is also a radian per second square. So it uses the time parameter 2 times. So it is t minus 2 because it is in denominator. Then discharge is again a kinematic quantity. It is a volume flow rate. Say unit is meter cube per second. So meter cube again volume flow rate. Volume flow rate meter cube again L is to 3. All L3 simply called as L3 divided by time. So L3 t minus 1. So it is the discharge. Then acceleration due to gravity. So acceleration, all the acceleration, it may be either due to gravity or any other force. Fundamental unit of the acceleration will remain same, that you can see here. It is the LT minus 2 here, and here acceleration is LT minus 2. So whenever you see the term, say acceleration, regardless of the reason for that acceleration, you can simply put down as a LT minus 2. Then kinematic viscosity is nothing but the mu divided by density. So it have a unit of meter square per second. Meter square per second. So it uses the length parameter 2 times and time parameter 1 times, but time parameter is in denominator. So it is a negative. After seeing these kinematic quantities, let's see dynamic quantities. Again, keep in mind all the quantities for the derivation of the fundamental dimension, you must know the unit of that particular quantity. So here force have a unit, simply Newton. Okay. Then you must know the relation between Newton and mass, say Newton and kg. So for that we can use second law of Newton's, or Newton's second law of motion, which is F equal to ma. F equal to mass times acceleration. So here unit of unit of force is Newton, m is kg, and a is the acceleration, mass per a is meter per second square. So length divided by 2 times time parameter. So by this way, we can derive the unit of force, fundamental dimension of force from the relation of m equal to ma. And thus the equation or fundamental dimension will become m stands for kg. So kg is say m 1 times and meter per second square. So meter is the length parameter, it is again one time, so m1 l1, when there is a one power, no need to write, and SL is on, time parameter and denominator two times, so it is minus 2. Again, weight is nothing but the gravitational force. When the force come into picture, just remember one fundamental dimension, which is mlt minus 2. So whenever force, it may be a pressure force, it may be a gravitational force, turbulence force, viscous force, drag force, lift force, any force, when you come across the force, just put down mlt minus 2. Then density, which is ml minus 3, which is the kg per meter cube. So kg is the unit of mass, and meter cube, it is the volume. Say it is new and denominator, so it is just simply as a minus 3. Then specific weight is nothing but the weight upon volume. So in this case, mlt minus 2 for weight and divided by volume. Say volume is meter cube. So meter have a parameter of length 3 times. So here if you subtract 1 minus 3, so ml minus 2 t minus 2. So by this way you can derive the fundamental dimension for specific weight. Dynamic viscosity, for the dynamic viscosity you must know again the unit of dynamic viscosity, Newton into second per meter square. So now we have a fundamental dimension of Newton, which is mlt minus 2. So mlt minus 2 divided by, sorry, Newton into second. So again, t parameter one time, and then divided by Newton into second per meter square. Per meter square એટલે L2. So it will become 1 minus 2, so minus 1, and minus 2 plus 1, so minus 1. So m minus m L minus 1 t minus 1, it is the dynamic viscosity. And for calculation of the fundamental dimension of kinematic viscosity, again you can use this dynamic viscosity, because kinematic viscosity is nothing but the dynamic viscosity divided by density. So for calculation of MLT of this kinematic viscosity, you can go through this method also, though it is a little bit lengthy, but you not remember, or you do not rememberize the all things. So dynamic viscosity divided by density. Density again, it is a kg per meter cube. So here capital M stands for kg, and meter cube say L minus 3. So mm will be cancel out, L minus 1 minus 3 I go for L2, then t minus 1 as it is, so L2 t minus 1. By this way also you can derive. And then intensity of pressure, it is the force per unit area, so Newton divided by area. Area is 2 times length, so m L minus 1 t minus 2. So this way you can derive. Whenever you try to rememberize, you always make a mistake, because these all have a fundamental dimension and the power nearly 1, 2, and 3 only, or sometimes 0. So if you try to memorize all the things, it is very difficult. But I personally advise that do not remember this all MLT form. Instead, try to derive from the fundamental dimension or from the unit. The same way, surface tension, shear stress, work and energy, power, torque, and momentum, we can derive fundamental dimension. It is derived already here. So it is the fundamental dimension of the different physical quantities. And if you know this fundamental dimension, or how to derive the fundamental dimension, and then only you can go further in this chapter. Otherwise, you cannot solve any of the problem, or you cannot understand anything in this chapter after that, if you don't know the fundamental dimension, or how to derive the fundamental dimension of physical quantities. Okay, let's see one other parameter, which is the dimensional homogeneity. So it is a physical equation is the relation between two or more physical quantities. Any correct equation expressing a physical relationship between quantities must have a dimensionally homogeneous and numerically equivalent. So dimensionally homogeneous means when you derive the quantity to a fundamental dimension for any equation, then on the left hand side and right hand side equations have a equal fundamental dimension, or the equal number of fundamental dimension, or the on both the side. You can take any equation. or in other terms we can say, if the dimensional is not dimensionally homogeneous an equation, then equation cannot stand, or it cannot be a valid. Let's see the technical definition. Dimensional homogeneity states that every term in an equation, when reduced to a fundamental dimension, must contain identical power of each dimension. So dimension we have studied, which is m, l, t, and in sometimes theta. So in all the cases, when you reduce all the quantity in the equation on the left hand side and right hand side, the power of this m, l, t, and theta are equal on both the sides. Whether it may be 0, 1, 2, or 3, it does not matter, but it must be equal for any equation if the equation is dimensionally homogeneous. Thus, dimensionally homogeneous equation is applicable to all the system of units, and dimensional homogeneous equation only quantities having the same dimension can be added, subtracted, or equated. So let us consider any equation. uh, let's consider an equation, say time period t equal to, it depends on any other constant, under root L by G. L is the length, this is the time period, L is the length of pendulum, and G is the gravitational acceleration. If you derive the if you take the fundamental dimension, or the derive the fundamental dimension of all the quantities, let's try. First start with the right hand side. So right hand side is here L by G. So L have a length parameter, so it is L1 divided by G is the gravitational acceleration. Gravitational acceleration is the length parameter, meter per second square. So length parameter and time 2 times length parameter. It is in numerator, so the numerator of numerator is again it is in denominator, and denominator of denominator is again numerator. So this is the fundamental dimension of the given quantity uh, times power half, so raised to 1 by 2. So in this case L1 will cancel out, and t raised to 2, and here 1 by 2, so it will be again a time t, a parameter of time t raised to 1. This is the LHS. Now let's see what about the this is about RHS. We'll say that is what is about left hand side. The left hand side here is the time period, and time period t have a unit of dimension s. It is always measured in terms of second or minute or in hour. So again, it have a fundamental dimension of time, and only one. So we can denote as a t1. So here LHS equal to t1 equal to RHS equal to t1 equal to LHS. So this is just an example. You can take any of the equation used in the any flow parameter, particularly speaking. So we can you can take also V is equal to under root twice GH. You can take Bernoulli's equation we have derived earlier. You can take a velocity equation, acceleration equation, any equation. So these all are equation are dimensionally homogeneous. When you reduce that equation or parameter of that equation to a fundamental dimension, then the power of fundamental dimension on both the side must be equal. Now let's see some application of the dimensional homogeneity. It facilitates to determine the dimension of a physical quantity. It helps to check whether an equation of any physical phenomena is dimensionally homogeneous or not. It facilitates conversion of unit from one system to another, and it provides a step towards the dimensional analysis, which is fruitfully employed to plan an experiment and to present the result meaningful. So these all are the application of dimensional homogeneity. Now let's see one method for a dimensional analysis. So first method is Relling method or relay method. There are little bit many pronunciation for this spelling, because it is a non-Indian spelling. So Indian have always a little bit difficulty to pronounce relay method. This method gives a special term of relationship among the dimensionless group and has an inherent drawback. it have one drawback also. It does not provide any information regarding the number of dimensionless group. So how many dimensional loops will enter or will incorporate in any equation or in any physical quantity? It cannot give you the clue relation between these two to obtain a result of dimensional analysis. Due to this reason, this method is now become obsolete and it was favored for use because it have a limitation that there are three or four quantity, and then only you can use this method for more than four or five. For more than three or four physical parameter incorporating any fluidic system. You cannot use this method. This method used to determine the expression for a variable which depends upon maximum three or four variables only. In this method, the functional relationship for some variables is expressed in terms of exponential equation, which must be dimensionally homogeneous. So let's see how it works. Okay, if x is a variable which depends on x1, x2, x3, and xn, number of parameter is n. So here, first understand what is dependent and what is independent variable. Here, x is considered as a dependent variable on these three independent variables. So in this case, if you change anything, either increase or decrease, or the variation of x1 is directly related to the x. Same way, x2 variation of the x2 is result in the variation of x. Same way, any variation of the x3 will result into the variation of x. But x cannot vary itself, or it cannot vary spontaneously. For the variation of this, it have to depend on these parameters. Or in other terms, we can say if we vary any of the one or more than one parameter from this all independent parameter, effect will goes to this dependent parameter. So this is here x is considered as a dependent parameter and or dependent variable, and x1, x2, x3 are the independent parameter. Then we can write x as any function f. Let's say any function f of x1, x2, x3, and xn. So this is the functional relationship of dependent and independent parameters or independent variables. The above equation can also be rewritten as x is equal to c. C is any constant. Say x1 raised to a, x2 raised to b, x3 raised to c, and xn raised to n. So a, b, and c here and any arbitrary constant. Any arbitrary power. And the calculation we have to do, that is to calculate the value of this c, value of a, value of b, value of c, and value of n. And this is the solution. And by this way, after calculating the value of c, a, b, c, and n up to the parameter or the power of this all independent variable, we can establish the relation between this dependent variable and these three or independent variable. Let's see with one example, then you can better understand regardless of the just theory. Here the problem one is given the time period t. Okay, this is we have discussed earlier, but let's see in detail. Time period of a t in pendulum depends upon the length L of the pendulum and acceleration due to gravity g, and derive the expression for the time period. Okay, then we are already know that the time period equation of the time period because we had studied in the 11th, 12th physics also. So we already know, but let's understand how Rayleigh method is used to derive the relation between independent and dependent variable. So time period t is a function of length and g is the acceleration. Then as per the definition, we can write the t is a function and k is here we have taken k as a constant instead of c. So k multiply by L raised to power of a and g raised to power of b, where k is a constant. Substituting the dimension or the fundamental dimension on both the sides, and t have only one dimension, t equal to t is the time, so it have only one fundamental dimension, which is the t. K is constant, so there is no fundamental dimension as we keep as it is. L have a fundamental dimension, length have a fundamental dimension of L. So we keep it is L as it is, but G is a meter per second square. So unit of G is meter per second square. The meter stands for L and time stands for T, L T2, but it's in numerator. If we push into the numerator from the denominator, then it will be a negative power. So it will be LT minus 2 raised to B. Now after putting the fundamental dimension of all this variable, it may be a dependent or it may be a independent, then let's compare the power. Compare the power of fundamental dimension. Either it may be M, L, or T. Here we have only T, only two parameters, only two fundamental dimension, T say time and L for length. So we will compare first power of T. So after comparing the power of T, we get here the power of T equal to 1. So in left hand side 1 equal to K, no time parameter, L known time parameter. Here L is again no time parameter, and T raised to minus 2B. So 1 equal to minus 2B, from the relation we can get B equal to minus 1 half. After comparing the power of T, let's compare the power of L. Here there is no parameter of L, so L, the power of L is 0, equal to, on the other side, L raised to A. So here A plus L raised to B. So A plus B equal to 0. Now put the value of B here, you will get the A equal to plus 1 half. So substituting the value of this A and B in this equation, here in this equation, you will get the equation T is equal to K raised to 1 half into G raised to minus 1 half. And this is nothing but the under root. It is a negative value, so it will go into the denominator. So K is equal to under root L by G. So by this way, we can get the relation between independent and dependent variable in this case. But after performing the experiment, you can derive also the value of K, and the value of K is here 2 pi. So here T is equal to 2 pi under root L by G. So by this way, you can first establish the relation between independent and dependent variable, and after that, by performing the experiment, you can derive the constant variable or the constant incorporated into the equation. So this is by this way we can use the Rayleigh method for the dimensional analysis, or to get the relation or the functional relation between dependent and independent parameter. So that is all for today, friends. What we have learned today, we started with the dimensional analysis. Then we have seen advantages of dimensional analysis, then fundamental dimensions and fundamental dimension of different physical quantity, and we have learned also how to derive the physical dimension or the fundamental dimension for any particular quantity, whether it may be a geometric quantity, kinematic quantity, or dynamic quantity. Then dimensional homogeneity used for the application, used for equation, then Rayleigh method, and with one example which you can see here, we understand how to use Rayleigh method for the analysis purpose. Okay, thank you, friends.